Grenada, we're coming to you. Hi, Grenada, how y'all doing? Yes, I think I'm gonna come down in August. I'm gonna come to Grenada for about 3 days. Yes. So can you tell me some of the best sites that I can visit?
Okay, Chief, you can come to Granans Beach. We have a waterfall at Annadale. We have the big city at St. Andrews. You can come and spend some money in Grenville. Okay.
Some USDT. All right. So sometime in August, I'll be here for a couple of times. But we can do exchange. We can do a house share. Come to my house and then I go to somebody's house.
We have some 5-star, 6-star hotels. Come spend money, man. No house thing.
No problem. I'll do a 5-star. Right? Do they have any open concept villas that I can get to?
Oh, sure. What do you want? A family size villa or just for you and the couple? Right. I feel like it's easy, you know.
So if I talk, you will hear me. But if he's talking, go ahead, Grenada.
Somebody joking some real buttons are crazy. Man, the man was not having a conversation. What could go wrong there? If I was that see. Yeah, because me and the man have a conversation. So then, what could go wrong? The internet? Oh, this WhatsApp thing. Yeah, but call him on the phone and talk to him and tell him. I feel they still hook up the WhatsApp thing going on.
Yes, the WhatsApp should be on. If I am speaking and he's speaking,
Rasta, I'm speaking. We was now having a conversation a while ago with the villa you want to rent.
yeah. So I watching what side I'm on. If I face on that side, yeah, I'll be better. So I watch you there. Yeah, I can just poke that man in his head there. I can just. Can you see it?
Grenada,
Anyway,
N.
yeah.
I need to know if you're hearing me. Rasta, give me a thumbs up if you're hearing me from Grenada N. I'm at the podium.
We hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. He's hearing. On the double screen, he's hearing.
My name is Ebony Prince, and I am a third-year pharmacy student at the TAMCC Community College. The pharmacy program is a very challenging and a very voluminous program, but it's very rewarding. We graduate with an associate degree. My favorite course at the college is, I would say, pathology. This is where we learn about various diseases that affects humans.
I will encourage anyone, any young person, not so young person, to do this program. It's very interesting, it's very educational, can be a source of inspiration to your community or to your family or to whatever pharmacy you are associated to. So feel free to come down, talk to lecturers, talk to students, and talk to anyone that will give you information regarding this program.
My name is Kidana Duncan, a second-year student in the Food and Beverage Management program at the T.A. Marshall Community College. If you are interested in mastering the food and beverage management, locally, regionally, or internationally, I encourage you to apply to the Food and Beverage Management program at the T.A. Marshall Community College.
If you are interested in broadening your knowledge in the hospitality field, I encourage you to apply to the Hospitality Studies program at the T.A. Marshall Community College.
My name is Lexan Charles, and I am in the General Office Administration program at the St. Patrick's campus. I would like to encourage other people to do this program because it helps you office-wise, learning with customers, learning to operate the computer, and it helps you business-wise since we do a course called Entrepreneurial Skills.
In a world where our economic lifelines and natural beauty are at risk, plastic pollution is a silent threat to our OECS islands. It is more than an environmental issue. It is an economic crisis hitting tourism, our economic backbone, and impacting every aspect of our livelihood. Our pristine beaches and vibrant seas, essential for tourism, are marred by plastics. This not only diminishes the beauty of our landscapes, but leads to lower land values, increased health costs, and a decline in tourism. The ripple effects across agriculture and fisheries erode our economic foundation. Pollution transcends boundaries, making this a shared problem requiring a unified solution. It is a call to arms for member states, the private sector, and every citizen. Together, we can address this menace through collaboration and innovation. The Recycle OECS project is our collective response. It is an ambitious initiative to design a regional strategy for plastic waste management, showcasing the power of our united efforts. As we stand at this crossroad, the path we choose today will define our tomorrow. Let's opt for a future where our children can revel in the beauty of our lands, unmarred by pollution. Envision a future where our economies flourish, driven by the engines of sustainable practices. This is our moment to act, to unite, and to inspire change. Together, Let's sculpt a legacy of environmental stewardship and economic resilience for generations to come.
Here's an assignment for you super sleuths, should you choose to accept. Every single-use plastic thrown into the environment has a fingerprint on it. Who does it belong to? That plastic bottle or food container was imported and distributed to warehouses, supermarkets, shops, food trucks, school canteens, vendors' trays, and eventually made its way to us. So how did it get buried in the environment? Whose fingerprint is on this? Since several laws, including international agreements, prohibit polluting, hold on to that plastic bottle or food container until you get to a bin and dispose of it properly. Separate plastic waste for transport to a facility that reuses, repurposes, or recycles. It's the responsible thing to do. Dominica is living up to its reputation as the Nature Isle and its goal to be a resilient country. We are establishing a recycling culture, ridding our landfill of plastic waste. Under the Recycle OECS pilot project, residents and business owners are being encouraged to see the potential in plastic. Every day, plastic bottles can be sorted and prepared for collection and recycling. Plastic is not waste. There is opportunity in plastic recycling. Our health and the unmatched pristine Dominica environment protected, and the potential arena for investment for OECS entrepreneurs. Let's explore the possibilities and turn plastic into profit.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
Hello, OECS.
Grenada is on a track to become a Caribbean trendsetter for waste management and recycling. We are establishing a recycling culture to rid our landfill, our country, of plastic waste. Under the OECS Recycle Pilot Project, residents and the business sector are being encouraged to see the potential in plastic. Every day, plastic bottles can be stored and prepared for collection and recycling. Plastic is not waste. There is investment opportunity in plastic recycling, sustainable clean water, food safety, beautiful beaches, marine spaces, and a potential arena for investment for OECS entrepreneurs. Let's recycle and explore avenues to convert plastic into profit.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
Many of us take our health and well-being seriously. We exercise, we eat right, we try hard. Sometimes we give up, but we can't give up on the health of land and the seas that sustain us. We must reduce the amount of plastic weight we generate individually. A person can generate up to 70 times their weight in waste. That's over 10,000 pounds of plastic over a lifetime. Now multiply that by the country's population. Without reuse, repurposing, or recycling, each OECS island will generate more than 1 billion pounds of plastic waste over a lifetime. This can't be our legacy. Separate plastic waste for transport to a facility that reuses, repurposes, or recycles.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
Hello, OECS. OECS.
Good day, ma'am. What would make it easier for you to reduce your plastic waste?
Definitely incentives for bringing back plastic bottles, like discounts and loyalty points. It would motivate me to recycle more.
I think if restaurants let us use our own takeout containers, it's all about convenience, you know?
It would help if manufacturers start using less packaging altogether.
Better infrastructure, more investment in recycling facilities, and innovative solutions to tackle this growing problem of plastic pollution. It's not just about individual action, it's about systemic change.
With our population growing and plastic becoming more prevalent in packaging, we have to equip our waste management agencies to keep pace with change and handle the load.
There you have it, folks, straight from the streets. People are willing to do the responsible thing if we create the conditions for them to do so.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
Carelessly, I was tossed out. I was considered trash. And many thought that's all I'd ever be. Some told me to give up, go back to the landfill, so that I could take 450 years to decompose. No, I dream of a different life, of being part of something better, stronger, and more purposeful.
If given a chance, your plastic would choose to be put to more beneficial use. Choose recycling.
Now, it's considered to be one of the biggest threats to the world's oceans. Delegates from UN member states are gathering to confront the problem of plastic pollution. The goal is to agree on a global
If given a chance, your plastic would choose to be put to more beneficial use. Choose recycling.
Tag, I'm it. Tag, I'm it.
I am committed to giving up plastic water bottles.
Starting with this cup.
This cup.
This is my last single-use cup.
Starting with this straw.
Did you know that more than 1 million plastic bags are used every minute?
I bet you didn't know that.
Over the last 10 years, we have produced more plastic than during the whole of the last century.
And much of our plastics, when indiscriminately disposed of, finds its way into our oceans. It travels from one island to the other in plastic patches.
So, why use this disposable bottle when you can switch to something a little bit more environmentally friendly?
I am switching from this to this.
From this to this.
Replace it with a reusable option.
Switch to an environmentally friendly alternative. I'm tagging Alicia Burton, Miss Dominica, King Trilogy, and Benji N2O.
Now look how easy it is to switch.
I'm tagging Noah Seas and Puya.
You have 24 hours to put out your switch video and tag 3 people.
Hi, I'm Joanne Nova from the Caribbean Youth Environment Network. Tag 3 people and challenge them to join the Zero Waste Movement.
Mrs. Titus and John. If it's on land, it will end up in the ocean. And for every fish that chokes on our waste, someone's livelihood dies too. Some say, please stop marine pollution. So many islands, familiar connections, sharing resources, one economy.
More than just islands, a civilization of history and culture and shared destiny.
Why wouldn't we care? One Caribbean sea. We all belong here. One new economy.
Making future sense of our present tense. We're giving it all we are worth. Our moment is here.
One Caribbean sea.
Values we all hold dear.
One new economy.
Love and glory, the joys of our journey will surely inspire the earth.
Yo, this is Skinny Fabulous. Check this for a second. When your plastics, engine oil, factory waste, and fertilizer runoff end up in the sea, that's a real bad vibe. Trust me, gotta cut it out. We all have to stop that. And that's the memo right there.
Why wouldn't we care? One Caribbean sea. We can prosper right here.
One Caribbean
By giving it all we are worth.
by cherishing the lands of our birth. Why wouldn't we care?
One Caribbean sea.
For the oceans we share.
One new economy.
Painting this picture and framing our future. We're giving it all we are.
Hey OECS, this is Mikkel Henderson. This song is real, just like our ocean. Think ahead. Act now. Stop littering the land and protect our sea. Your garbage, your house, your garage, your factory, your move. It's that simple.
We're keepers of ocean and earth.
One Caribbean sea.
We're giving it all we are worth.
One new economy.
We cherish the lands of our birth.
One Caribbean sea.
Our treasures of blue sky and sun.
One new economy. One Caribbean sea. One new economy. One Caribbean sea.
Our treasures of blue sky and sun.
One Caribbean sea.
In a world where our economic lifelines and natural beauty are at risk, plastic pollution is a silent threat to our OECS islands. It is more than an environmental issue. It is an economic crisis hitting tourism, our economic backbone, and impacting every aspect of our livelihood. Our pristine beaches and vibrant seas, essential for tourism, are marred by plastics. This not only diminishes the beauty of our landscapes, but leads to lower land values, increased health costs, and a decline in tourism. The ripple effects across agriculture and fisheries erode our economic foundation. Pollution transcends boundaries, making this a shared problem requiring a unified solution. It is a call to arms for member states, the private sector, and every citizen. Together, we can address this menace through collaboration and innovation. The Recycle OECS project is our collective response. It is an ambitious initiative to design a regional strategy for plastic waste management, showcasing the power of our united efforts. As we stand at this crossroad, the path we choose today will define our tomorrow. Let's opt for a future where our children can revel in the beauty of our lands, unmarred by pollution. Envision a future where our economies flourish, driven by the engines of sustainable practices. This is our moment to act, to unite, and to inspire change. Together, let's sculpt a legacy of environmental stewardship and economic resilience for generations to come.
The Recycle OECS model is structured on 5 pillars. Pillar 2, the economical pillar.
This plastic bottle is not just something to be tossed away, but something that can be repurposed and converted into a revenue-generating business. It's an opportunity for first of all, private sector to consider, their business model. Do I have to use plastic? If we engage private sector collectively, along with government, along with other partners, then we can get a more holistic solution, a sustainable environment, a sustainable space, so we can continue to have business.
The Recycle OECS model is structured on 5 pillars. Pillar 3, the financing pillar.
How critical is sustainable financing? In most Caribbean countries, the waste management sector is paid for from the national budget. We need infrastructure like waste bins, trucks, sanitary landfills, composting and recycling plants. Without sustainable financing and financial instruments, this is not possible. Every waste generator, citizen or user, importer, has to pay for the collection and final disposal or treatment of its waste. We have to make citizens aware of the fact that if they generate waste, that they have to pay for collection and final disposal. And secondly, include producers and importers in the financing for the waste that they generate.
The Recycle OECS model is structured on 5 pillars. Pillar 4, the institutional and regulatory pillar.
Legislation plays a crucial role in shaping waste management and recycling systems. They encourage the use of sustainable products and packaging. And this can include bans or restrictions on single-use plastics. We have waste diversion legislation, for instance, what is known as Extended Producer Responsibility or EPR laws. They mandate that manufacturers and producers must take responsibility for the end-of-life management of their products. And finally, governments can design waste management and recycling legislation to stimulate investment in recycling infrastructure. But having said all of this, the effectiveness of legislation and policy is in the enforcement.
The Recycle OECS model is structured on 5 pillars. Pillar 1, the technical pillar.
Landfill space is a finite resource. As with us in terms of landfilling, we estimate optimistically about 3 years left with our landfill. We're all faced regionally with the same problem, economies of scale. How do you make plastic a resource and get into a circular economy system with that? We opted not just for baling, but for a pelletizing plant. For pelletizing, that becomes the raw material for plastic manufacturing. For the residual materials, such as the HDPE or other types of plastics, we can then redirect to various projects, such as the No to Single Use project, to include in block making and so on. With the twinning with ourselves and Dominica, that would make Dominica, for example, a source of the raw material, aggregate material coming to us, which we then process up to the pellet stage.
Now, it's considered to be one of the biggest threats to the world's oceans. Delegates from UN member states are gathering here to confront the problem of plastic pollution. The goal is to agree on a global
If given a chance, your plastic would choose to be put to more beneficial use. Choose recycling.
Now, it's considered to be one of the biggest threats to the world's oceans. Delegates from
The Recycle OECS model is structured on 5 pillars. Pillar 1, the technical pillar.
Landfill space is a finite resource. As with us in terms of landfilling, we estimate optimistically about 3 years left with our landfill. We're all faced regionally with the same problem, economies of scale. How do you make plastic a resource and get into a circular economy system with that? We opted not just for baling, but for a pelletizing plant. For pelletizing, that becomes the raw material for plastic manufacturing. For the residual material, such as the HDPE or other types of plastics, we can then redirect to various projects, such as the no to single use project, to include in block making and so on. With the twinning with ourselves and Dominica, that would make Dominica, for example, a source of the raw material, aggregate material coming to us, which we then process up to the pellet stage.
Good afternoon to everyone, and good afternoon to our online viewers, and welcome to the finals of the Recycle OECS Windward Islands Inter-College Debates. Today we gather to witness an exciting clash of ideas as 2 outstanding teams, Sir Arthur Lewis Community College and the TAMCC Community College, take the stage to debate one of the most pressing environmental challenges facing our OECS region. This journey began 2 weeks ago, I think, in the semi-finals where Sir Arthur Lewis Community College and TAMCC Community College emerged victorious after delivering compelling arguments on privatization of waste services and sustainable financing mechanisms for waste management. Their performances showcased not only their debating prowess, but also the aplomb with which they answered the call as OECS youth to lend their voices to the ongoing dialogue on the imperatives for innovative, sustainable solutions to our region's environmental challenges. Today, they'll tackle another critical topic. Promoting responsible consumption is more effective than improving recycling systems in reducing plastic pollution in the OECS. But before we dive into the debate, let us start with the national anthem of St. Lucia and the national anthem of Grenada. Thank you. And this is, let me ask you to remain standing. It's quite apropos that Grenada and St. Lucia are in the finals. St. Lucia is currently in the throes of independence celebrations, and at semifinals, Grenada was celebrating their independence. So we have much to be thankful for as independent nations of the OECS, and I'd now like to invite Ms. Adia Bailey of the T.A. Marisho Community College to open in prayer for us this afternoon.
Father, we come before you today with grateful hearts, thankful for the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to share in this debate. We know that knowledge is a gift from you, and we ask you to guide us in using it wisely. Lord, we lift up the debaters to you. Give them the confidence, clarity, and peace of mind. Calm any nerves, help them to think clearly, and let their words be filled with wisdom and respect. May they speak with courage, but also with kindness, knowing that true strength is found in understanding as much as in proving a point. We also ask that you bless the judges with fairness, the moderators with patience, and the audience with open minds. Let this debate be more than just a competition. Let it be an opportunity for growth, for learning, and for building stronger connections among our islands. Thank you for bringing us all together, and may everything we do today be done with integrity and respect. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Ms. Bailey, and let's have our seats. It's a very exciting moment for us at the Recycle OECS project at the OECS Commission. The head of the Division of Environmental Sustainability at the OECS Commission is Mr. Chamberlain Emmanuel, a man who carries quite a weighty portfolio at the OECS Commission. I'm very pleased to ask him to come to join us to deliver opening remarks this afternoon. Mr. Emmanuel.
Thank you very much, Barbara, and good afternoon, everyone. Let me first of all acknowledge the principal of the T.A. Marisho Community College in Grenada, Mr. Andrew Abraham, Mrs. Natalie Jolie Fannis, Head Marketing and Communication Unit, South Louis Community College, St. Lucia, Mrs. Tracy Pilgrim George, Senior Advancements Officer, South Louis Community College, heads of the debate clubs of the participating colleges, Ms. Lorima Jacob of SALCC, and Ms. Melissa John of TAMCC. Also want to acknowledge our sponsors, representatives from Unicoma OECS Limited, esteemed debaters, coaches and supporting teams, distinguished members of the judging panel, faculty members, followers online, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the final debate in the Recycle OECS Windward Islands Inter-College Debate Series. The OECS Commission, through the Recycle OECS project, funded by the AFD, or the Agence Française de Développement, and the European Union, and in collaboration with beneficiary member states, is seeking to transform the perception, behaviors, and approaches to waste management so that we have an environment in which is more conducive to socioeconomic prosperity, including opportunities in the blue and circular economies. This transformation is underpinned by an OECS model for sustainable waste separation, collection, and recycling of plastic waste for the OECS. An important aspect of the model is that it considers a regional approach, self-financing, sustainability, and business viability. The development of the model is meant to be iterative, based on lessons learned through demonstrations and new information. The model comprises 5 pillars, and each pillar represents pertinent principles and options for actions to realize the overall objective of the system. And these are technical, economical, the financial mechanism, institutional and regulatory considerations, and finally, communication, including buy-in. This debate series is designed to explore the perspectives of our youth on these pillars and to help mobilize advocates for the transformation. In the semi-final rounds, we witness ardent debates on two topics. Prioritization of solid waste services leads to greater efficiency and improved waste management in the OECS. And the second was sustainable financing mechanisms are necessary for long-term waste management solutions in the OECS. All four teams and institutions deserve tremendous commendation for their excellent work. On behalf of the OECS Commission, I wish to congratulate the winning teams of these semi-final debates, the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College of St. Lucia and the T.A. Mary Shaw Community College of Grenada, who presented sound and logical arguments of high quality. We look forward to hearing your perspectives as you deliberate on today's topic. Promoting responsible consumption is more effective than improving recycling systems in reducing plastic pollution in the OECS. I look forward to those points. We anticipate that this exchange of ideas will influence the refining of the model and will influence you, your peers, our policymakers, and the wider community to be responsible stewards and innovative change makers. Together, we can work towards a future where waste is not just a problem, but an input to more sustainable approaches and solutions. I wish you the best, and may the best one win.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel, for that very useful context. Now on to remarks by our partner institutions this morning. And even as Ms. Tracy George of Sir Arthur Lewis makes her way to the microphone, I just want to mention again our semi-final teams. From Dominica, I want to mention Miss Trudy Christian, who is the principal of the Dominica State College, and Miss Melissa John and Mr. Utamu Rose of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College. We know you're online watching and you are cheering. So let me welcome Miss Tracy George of Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, Senior Advancement Officer.
Good afternoon, everyone. And please let me thank Mr. Emmanuel for establishing the protocol earlier on. Welcome to this highly anticipated Recycle OECS Windward Islands Inter-College Debate Finals. Today we witness the culmination of weeks of preparation, rigorous research, and passionate discourse as Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, SALCC, and T.A. Mary Shaw Community College, TAMCC, go head-to-head in this final showdown. This debate is more than just a competition. It is a testament to the power of critical thinking, bold ideas, and meaningful dialogue, values championed by our very own Nobel laureates here in St. Lucia, Sir Arthur Lewis and Sir Derek Walcott. As we tackle the pressing issues of plastic pollution and sustainable waste management within the green and blue economy, we are reminded that the future of our region depends on innovative solutions and collaborative actions. A special thank you to UNICOMA and, of course, to the OECS for making this initiative possible. Your support has fostered a space where young minds can engage in transformative discussions that shape our future. To the teacher advisors, your dedication is always invaluable. To the student debaters, you are the heartbeat of this event. Your research and arguments and your passion make this debate truly impactful. As we look ahead, May today's discussions inspire new solutions, strengthen regional collaboration, and ignite a lasting commitment to sustainability. Best of luck to both teams. May your voices lead to a greener and smarter Caribbean. Thank you.
Brilliant. And now it's my pleasure to invite Principal Andrew Abraham of TAMCC to deliver his remarks.
A pleasant good afternoon to everyone, and I stand on the protocol that already established. It is indeed an honor to stand before you today at the finals of the Recycle OECS Windward Islands Inter-College Debates, an event that not only showcases the brilliance and eloquence of our students, but also highlights one of the most critical challenges of our time: responsible consumption, and of course, recycling and the reduction of waste. Plastic pollution is more than an environmental issue, it's a global crisis. Every year, millions of tons of plastic waste find their way into our oceans, rivers, landscapes, threatening marine life, contaminating our food sources, and contributing to climate change. As small island nations, we in the OECS are particularly vulnerable, but vulnerability does not mean helplessness. It means we must be at the forefront of change, championing solutions that protects our environment and secures a sustainable future for generations to come. Today's debate is a testament to the power of youth-led advocacy. It demonstrates that change starts with knowledge, dialogue, and action. Each argument to be presented here today will not only shape the competition, but also inspire real-world change in how we consume and manage waste. As the students engage in this critical conversation, let us remember the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." End of quote. The change we need begins with us, our choices, our habits, and our commitment to responsible consumption. Every reusable bag, every recycled bottle, and every sustainable decision brings us one step closer to a healthier OECS. To our debaters, congratulations on making it to this stage. You have already proven that you are thinkers, leaders, and change makers. Let your voices be bold, your arguments be sharp, and your passion for sustainability shine through. May the best team win, and may we all leave today more inspired to take action. I thank you.
Beautiful remarks. Thank you so much, Principal Abraham. So just to clarify, for the judges this afternoon, and also for our online viewers, and for those of you in your various college auditoriums watching this debate. The teams did not select which topic they wanted to debate. We came up with a pool of topics, and we went for a process of discussion and dialogue and selected what will be the three main topics to debate. And by mutual consent, we came up with a mechanism to select who will debate what. So at the semi-final stage, the colleges drew for topics. And it was then mutually agreed that the winner of semi-final debate 1 would propose the argument for the final debate, and the winner of semi-final round 2 would oppose. I need to say here as well that each debating team is not just 2 debaters. Each team comprises of four team members. And so at any given time, any one of these 4 team members can actually debate the topic, because they have a mechanism by which they do the collaboration in terms of the research for the topic, and they work together to pull the arguments together, and they decide who will stand at the microphone and deliver. So I wanted to clarify that, and I think for the judges, that will be an extremely interesting experience for you to see what has come out of that process. And speaking of the judges, we are joined by a very solid team here this afternoon, and I will introduce them in that order. So judge number 1 is Mr. Juan Bailey. He's a seasoned professional with over 25 years of experience across the ICT, tertiary education, and FMCG sectors in the Caribbean. And FMCG refers to fast-moving consumer goods, yes? He's currently the Chief Executive Officer of Peter & Company in St. Lucia. He previously led Independence Agencies Limited as CEO and served as Regional Sales Director at Cable & Wireless Communication, driving B2B sales strategies across multiple islands. Mr. Bailey also managed IT initiatives for the Caribbean Knowledge and Learning Network and consulted on IT projects in tax administration and public financial management. As a Grenada Island scholar, he holds an MBA in finance from the University of Leicester and a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical and computer engineering from UWI, and is a certified project management professional. But he's Grenadian. But you know, his daughter is also, has studied at Sir Arthur Lewis Community College and is a graduate of Sir Arthur Lewis in St. Lucia. Judge number 2, we have appointed him Chief Judge. Mr. Brent Theophil is Dominican by birth. He serves as the National Technical Specialist for the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, ICA, in St. Lucia. He holds an MPhil in Agricultural Economics and a Bachelor of Science degree in Agribusiness Management from the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. His areas of specialization are fisheries economics, agricultural economics, agricultural and rural development policy, entrepreneurship and agribusiness development, especially with women and youth, agriculture innovation, entrepreneurship, and food nutrition security. His work involves providing technical support and expertise to enhance agricultural development and sustainability within the region. Judge number 3 is Miss Colette McDermott. She's of Jamaican origin, yes? No? Guyanese origin, there we go. So what we have is really the embodiment of regional integration on our judging panel. Colette McDermott is a sustainable tourism professional and marketing specialist at Ryder Levitt Bucknell, RLB, where she also serves on the North American Sustainability Leadership Team. With a master's degree in environment policy and development from the University of Sussex, Colette brings a wealth of expertise in sustainable practices and environmental advocacy. She's the vice chair of the St. Lucia National Trust, demonstrating her commitment to heritage conservation and community development. Colette's academic background also includes a BA honors in geography with African and Asian studies, further enriching her global perspective on sustainability and policy. And our judge number, where am I now? Judge number 4 is Mrs. Delamine Andrew Williams. She's a senior technical specialist within the OECS Environmental and Sustainability Division. Mrs. Andrew Williams, I will say, is born Dominican, but I think she identifies as Antiguan. She's a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda with a strong academic background and over 10 years of professional work experience in sustainable development, project management, disaster risk management, and multilateral environmental negotiations. She's a university graduate of Oxford Brookes University and University of Exeter, England, where she completed degrees in town and country planning and climate change risk management, respectively. And our judge number 5 is St. Lucian. Ms. Joanne Norville is a science and technology officer within the Department of Sustainable Development, where she works on promoting science and technology, particularly with respect to environmental sustainability and development. Her work in the department also extends to supporting the program areas related to marine litter, plastic pollution, and sustainable consumption and production. Ms. Norville also has a passion for youth development, having served as a secondary school teacher and a former national coordinator for the St. Lucia chapter of the Caribbean Youth Environment Network. As a lifelong conservationist, scientist, and teacher, she utilizes her degree in environmental management to continuously advocate for enhancing youth development and sustainable development in St. Lucia through education, awareness raising, and supporting strategic partnerships. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you in the room and those of you in your college auditoriums, feel free to applaud the stellar panel of judges that we have. Now, my work here is very brief. It's just to open today's ceremony. I now will be handing over to the moderator of the debate, Mr. Cameron Gustave. Mr. Cameron Gustave is a young man of many passions. Cameron is a certified junior Toastmaster and has served as president of the Public Speaking and Debate Society at both his secondary and pre-college schools, a professional MC, a tour guide, and a crew member at Sea Spray Cruises. That's important, because that's, love for the environment and sustainable livelihoods from the environment. Cameron's passion for public speaking and debate shines through in everything he does. This September, he'll continue using his voice to inspire others as he begins his studies in medicine at the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus in Trinidad. Cameron has the task of introducing the members of the debating teams and to facilitate the debate. And Cameron himself is a former debater, yes? And a graduate of Sir Arthur Lewis Community Colleges. I give you Mr. Cameron Gustave.
Thank you and good afternoon to everyone. Congratulations to the T.A. Mary Shaw Community College and the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College for making it this far and possessing the dexterity and discipline that is needed to develop 2 back-to-back debates. As a former debater myself, I know this is a large mountain to climb, and I am especially grateful for the abilities that you have possessed and have a keen interest in what's going to transpire today. Now, before I proceed, I just have to go through a few of our criteria, as well as introduce the debaters themselves. So without further ado, let me commence this debate with our rules. There are 8 rules that we will be looking out for. Number 1, the leader of the proposition shall make his or her case for a maximum of 10 minutes. The leader of the opposition shall then make his or her case for a maximum of 10 minutes. The second speaker of the proposition shall make his or her case for a maximum of 7 minutes. The second speaker for the opposition shall then make his or her case for a maximum of 7 minutes. Number 2, the leader of the opposition shall have a maximum of 5 minutes for rebuttal, and then the leader of the proposition shall have a maximum of 5 minutes for rebuttal. Number 3, at the end of each speaker's allotted time, the speaker will vacate the lectern. Number 4, the timekeeper shall give a warning signal 1 minute before the expiration of the speaker's allotted time, and again at the end of the allotted time. Number 5, following the rebuttals, the adjudicators will be escorted to a secure venue for their deliberations. Deliberations should last no longer than 15 minutes. Number 6. Before the start of the deliberations, the auditor will collect the score sheets on which the scores achieved by each team will be recorded by the judges. The auditor will then compute the final scores, determine the winning team, and turn over the results to the special adjudicator. The auditor is allotted 15 minutes. Number 7. The moderator may lead an open discussion while the adjudicators are deliberating for 10 to 15 minutes. The discussion must be about the moot point and must not be a discussion of the debaters. Lastly, upon the return of the officials to the debate venue, the chief best speaker adjudicator and the chief prepared presentation judge will each give a brief constructive critique of the debater's performance, after which results will be revealed. In terms of our rubrics for our prepared presentations, our debaters will be judged in 5 criteria amounting to a total of 100 points. Our first criteria, soundness of points, is out of 35 and accounts for a clear thesis, the definition of the moot, the accuracy of the points, the strength of the arguments, the relative of the points, and evidence-based responses. Comprising 20 points, the second criteria is logical development. What we need is a brief outline of key points in an introduction, well organized for maximum effect, a clear explanation of each point, as well as a strong conclusion based on the overall argument. Out of 15 points, the audibility and clarity criteria accounts for appropriate projection of voice, effective tone modulation, clear and accurate enunciation, confidence, effective use of gestures, and eye contact with the audience comprises our posture and personality criteria out of 15 points. The command of the material criteria involves effective articulation of points, a smooth flow with minimal use of notes, as well as a comfortable speaking pace. Altogether, these categories amount to 100 points. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now getting ready to begin our debates. Before so, I shall just introduce some of our debaters for you, starting with the proposition of Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. Ms. Shine Savory is our leader. She is a 20-year-old student of the Creative and Performing Arts program at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. She is the president of the SALCC Debate Society and former acting vice president of the Students' Council. She has worked with the Dramacan Talent House, among other theatre companies, as a director, stage manager, and playwright, and won the 2024 Word Up Poetry Slam. Shine combines her artistic passion with public speaking and advocacy in her past positions of youth parliamentarian and United States Youth Ambassador. She loves babysitting and taking long walks. The seconder for the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College proposition team will be Ms. Shade Gustave. Shade Gustave is currently a second-year student at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, pursuing Cape Law, Sociology, and Literature. Though an avid reader, she is extremely passionate about volunteering and giving back to her community. She has worked with a number of organizations on projects focused primarily on climate action as well as youth and community development. In 2023, she has also participated in national and regional forums, including parliaments and debates, focused on climate action and domestic violence. Notably, she served as a youth parliamentarian in 2022 and 2023. As for the Grenadian side, our opposition leader from TAMCC, Ms. Kia Maricho, is a standout academic achiever. She brings her exceptional analytical skills to the debate stage. At just 17, this T.A. Maricho Community College student has already demonstrated remarkable scholastic ability. earning 12 grade 1s in her CXC examinations at St. Joseph's Convent, St. George's. Currently pursuing an interdisciplinary focus in sociology, law, and business, Kia's understanding of how these fields interconnect offers a unique perspective on social and environmental issues. Her academic excellence and passion for understanding complex societal relationships positions her as an insightful voice for addressing complex environmental challenges. Last but not least, the seconder for TAMCC, Mr. Joshua Noel, brings a remarkable record of academic excellence and leadership to the debate stage. Currently studying economics, business management, and pure mathematics at T.A. Marisho Community College, this 18-year-old scholar has consistently demonstrated exceptional abilities throughout his educational journey. As a two-time valedictorian with 11 grade 1s at CSEC, Joshua's academic prowess is matched by his leadership capabilities. At TAMCC, he serves as chairperson of the Student Representative Council while maintaining outstanding CAPE results, participating in debate club, and engaging in various student activities. His blend of scholastic achievement and student leadership brings a dynamic presence to the collegiate debate platform. Now with all the formalities being established, I now commence the debate open. May the leader of the proposition, Ms. Shine Savory, from the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, please step to the podium.
As I was getting ready to leave the house this morning, I looked at the metal reusable bottle that OECS Recycle had graciously given us at the last semi-final debate. And I asked myself, if recycling is truly the best way forward, wouldn't they have given us a branded plastic bottle? I mean, after all, if recycling is more effective than reducing, couldn't they have just given us plastic and we could throw it into the recycling? Moderator, audience, judges, good afternoon. The proposition is happy to be on the side of facts. Promoting responsible consumption is more effective than improving recycling systems in reducing plastic pollution in the OECS. Now, without further ado, let's define our terms. According to Oxford, recycling is the conversion of waste into reusable material. To promote is to further the progress of something, to support or actively encourage. This proposition takes promotion to entail encouraging businesses and individuals to make ecological choices and, more importantly, for a government to necessitate change through legislation. Effective means successful in producing a desired or intended result, but what is the intended result? Well, according to the World Bank in 2023, plastics represented 12% of our region's solid waste, but 80% of the litter found in the Caribbean Sea. And as more than just islands who share one Caribbean Sea, as the song has gotten stuck in our heads by now, a primary intended result of reduced pollution is keeping plastic out of our marine environment. The 12th UN Sustainable Development Goal, responsible consumption and production, aims to, quote, substantially reduce waste generation through prevention, reduction, and recycling. The UN Environment Programme outlines that we must, quote, minimize the use of natural resources and the pollutants over the life cycle of the product. And though both consumption and post-consumer stages of a product are important for sustainability, this proposition supports the statement that encouraging and regulating the use of resources in a way that minimizes waste is both a precursor and is more effective than the potential of recycling systems in keeping plastic out of the OECS environment. Our team will be laying down this issue in two parts. Our seconder will prove the effectiveness of responsible consumption, but now I will demonstrate why recycling is not the most effective solution to plastic pollution. First, I will break down the life cycle of plastic to illustrate why end-of-life measures are insufficient to curbing pollution. Then we will look at how the diseconomies of scale in the OECS make recycling unsustainable as a long-term solution. And finally, we will analyze how an unfair burden is placed on developing countries to recycle rather than on the producers of plastic. Now, moderator, audience, imagine that you have an unwanted guest in your home who's long extended their stay. Despite your polite suggestions to vacate the premises, they continue to pose a nuisance. Now, imagine, instead, telling this interloper that now they're a member of your household and that you and your family will simply walk around their presence while they wreak havoc in the house that you pay rent on. And that unwanted guest is plastic. As innocuous as it appears, plastic comes from oil refining, one of the most environmentally destructive industries on the planet. And according to the UN, the use of oil in transport and electricity is dropping significantly, but oil is kept afloat by demand for plastic. Even before it reaches the consumer or any landfill or recycling plant or any fish's stomach, it has already dealt damage to our environment. So why do we tolerate it like we do? The UN Environment Programme defines upstream activities as those involved in raw material extraction, which we, as the OECS, do not play a major part in. Midstream is manufacture, distribution, and use, and downstream is end-of-life plastic management, like segregation, disposal, and recycling. I quote, "If we want to address the root cause of plastic pollution, we must address all stages of the life cycle and reduce pollution at each stage. Stopping the problem as close to the source as we can get, how we procure and distribute our plastic products, is the OECS's most effective solution." And I'm not a fortune teller, but I can hazard a guess that the opposition will bring up the word circular economy. I don't know. But according to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, it is, quote, "a system where materials never become waste, products are kept in circulation through maintenance, reuse, and recycling." Now, of course, never becomes waste is idealistic. Like, we can accept that some plastic is necessary, and we can't recycle all of it. But according to Recycle OECS's 2023 study, between Grenada and Dominica, on average, 50% of plastic waste was in film form, a form that plastic facilities cannot recycle. Even if every OECS resident diligently placed all their plastic into the appropriate bins, half, in theory, cannot be recycled. And in plastic, less than 9% of plastic in the world is recycled. According to the UNDP, most plastics are only recycled once or twice before being disposed of or incinerated, and much of today's recycling postpones final disposal. It does not prevent it. That doesn't sound very circular. The best way to prevent single-use, non-recyclable waste from being a problem is to limit how much of it will be destined for the landfill by reducing our use of it. Now, to my second point. According to OPDERA, 1/3 of fish caught for human consumption contains plastic. Yummy! To argue that marine pollution isn't big enough of a problem in our region would be insensitive. But what we must consider is whether the scale of plastic pollution is enough to sustain recycling infrastructure. Oxford defines economies of scale as a proportionate saving in costs gained by an increased level in production. In other words, bigger entities spend less per unit and thus save money with growth. However, because of the OECS's small size, both in population and spending power, we face a greater challenge in sustaining recycling facilities than larger countries do. A regional or national scale facility requires substantial investment. And we have been fortunate enough to receive funding from the government of France, both for Replast and Recycle OECS. But both of these were 2-year initiatives. Permanent facilities are a bigger challenge. In August 2019, France Santé reported that Martinican recycling firm CIDREP, started in 2014, planned to accept plastic waste from St. Lucia. Martinique has the second largest population in the OECS, and yet pulling plastic from their neighboring territories was not merely an act of goodwill, but a necessity to sustain their plants. Among the entire French Antilles, CIDREP needed 4,000 tons of bottles per year to turn a profit. They hardly managed 1,000 tons. And in that same year, the plant closed down. Now, I am sure that the opposition would never suggest that we consume more plastics to fill a quota for a recycling facility. We cannot keep waiting for short-term funding to crop up. The OECS must have a permanent, continuous solution to plastic pollution. Now, finally, moderator, recycling is not in the best economic interest of the OECS, nor numerous other developing countries. The countries who extract the almighty oil, who made $6.7 trillion in 2023, are making the biggest bank off of our degradation. The Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis showed that generally, virgin plastics are substantially cheaper than recycled plastics, and where prices are more or less the same, virgin plastic is still preferable due to its higher quality. Currently, manufacturing is only 3% of the OECS's GDP, according to the World Bank. After we have pressed our recycled material into bales, they are not used regionally at a large scale to boost our economy. We send them overseas to another country that adds value to them and extracts profit. As I mentioned before, we do not have the scale of recycled plastic needed to have economies of scale, and freight shipment of bales, even to Honduras, which is not too far away, can still outweigh the value of the cargo it is carrying. In one country, according to the aforementioned source, recycled plastics were cheaper than virgin plastics, China, the manufacturing mecca of the world. But in 2018, after being the world's largest importer of recyclable waste, China restricted its import, and the primary reason, according to CPA Australia, was a plastic contamination level of above 0.05%. And this isn't just food debris. It includes the shrink wrap on a Gatorade bottle and the mixed types of plastics that can enter a facility. It isn't merely the result of carelessness, but is testament to how technical and labor-intensive recycling is. And yet, we are not able to financially sustain it, and far less return a profit. The 2019 PBS Frontline documentary, Plastic War, showed the mountains of plastic piling up in Asia, where Americans were led to believe that the waste would be recycled. Instead, a small fraction of this plastic was actually used, and the rest was dumped near people's homes or incinerated. It had the same fate as it would have had without recycling, just thousands of miles away. To end, moderator, I'd like to reference the 2023 World Trade Organization mapping of circular economy measures. Among member states, there were about 25 projects dedicated to the production process and reducing waste. 25. Recycling had nearly 400. Governments and companies want to invest heavily in recycling because then their businesses can continue producing and growing as normal. However, the hard truth is simply consuming and assuming that someone else will recycle our garbage will not save the world. Responsibility is hard, but it is worth our planet, our health, our wallets, and our conscience. Raise your reusable bottles to responsible consumption. Cheers.
With 14 seconds left on the clock, that was the proposition leader, Ms. Shine Savory of the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. Now, in these little interims where our judges are deliberating and tallying up, I will be talking you through some things about the topic that aren't specifically relevant to the debate, but provide insight and context for those watching along at home who may not be every day hearing about plastic pollution in the OECS. See, according to the Prevent Waste Alliance report, plastic waste is an increasingly defining feature of life in our small island communities. Research has demonstrated the enormous burden placed on these communities by plastic pollution. For example, in St. Lucia, the total cost of plastic pollution to the fisheries and tourism sectors in 2019 were estimated between $600,000 to $1.3 million US. This is not including the ongoing impact of blue natural capital assets and marine biodiversity. Small island communities are often a net importer of products rather than a manufacturer or exporter, and the consumption of these imported products within all island settings prevents challenges for collection and management of this imported material as it becomes waste. The large volumes of plastic litter washing up on even the remotest shores is well documented and creates a disproportionate amount of plastic pollution, given the size of our small island communities. It is estimated that most of the plastic pollution that originates in our small island developing states is seabound. Additionally, some plastic originates offshore from other communities and is transported to the SICs through ocean currents. This burden, through its impact on key economic sectors such as tourism and fishing, has implications for all aspects of life, from our livelihood generation to population health as well as biodiversity. As with climate change, SICs are on the front line of plastic pollution. Our geography, demography, and economics pose significant challenges for SICs to effectively manage plastic waste. These geographies are separated from regional and global markets. They are often ocean-rich with large maritime dominions, but land-poor. The tyranny of distance dramatically increases the cost of accessing conventional markets. Meanwhile, limited site availability combined with the proximity of water bodies disincentivizes land-based solutions. Populations tend to be small and dispersed, ruling out solutions that rely on economies of scale. Most technical know-how needs to be externally sourced or at a comparatively high cost. I see that our judges have finished tallying, so let us move forward. I welcome to the stage, in case you may have forgotten, Kia Marisho is a standout academic achiever at the T.A. Marisho College, bringing her exceptional analytical skills to the debate stage. At just 17, her scholastic ability, earning 12 grade 1s in her CXC examinations at St. Joseph's Convent, St. George's, currently pursuing an interdisciplinary focus in sociology, law, and business. Kia's understanding of how these fields positions her as an insightful voice for addressing complex environmental challenges. She's the leader of the opposition for the TAMCC, and I now invite her to grace the stage.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Albert Einstein. I stand here today with great tenacity, resolute and unyielding in our sense of the moot. My team will not become flummoxed by my aspirants' efforts to mislead you with decadent and unscrupulous persuasion. We have found the proponents' arguments both ill-considered and lacking vision for the OECS. We reject all the definitions postulated by the proposition, and we will present our own. Promoting responsible consumption is more effective than improving recycling systems and reducing plastic pollution in the OECS. We strongly disagree with the moots and have concluded that this statement cannot be any further from the truth. As the first speaker, I will meticulously define the key terms of the moots while presenting a contextual interpretation. I will elaborate on two salient points: the reality of consumption and the limitations of responsible consumption in the OECS. My second speaker will elucidate on the effectiveness of improving recycling systems, examine the necessity of collaboration between promoting responsible consumption while simultaneously improving recycling systems to reduce plastic pollution in the OECS, and then finally consolidate our arguments. The etymology of the word promoting originated in the 15th century is defined as encouragement. According to the Cambridge Advanced Dictionary, promote is defined as to encourage people to like, buy, do, use, or support something. According to the United Nations 2015 Sustainable Development Goal 12, and I quote,
Responsible consumption refers to the use of goods and services in a way that minimizes negative environmental impact, prioritizes sustainability, and encourages ethical decision making by consumers. According to a report by the United Nations, UN, responsible consumption encourages individuals to make conscious choices regarding the environmental impact of their decision. End of quote. Recycling systems, according to the International Solid Waste Association 2020 Global Waste Management Outlook, refers to the infrastructure, processes, and technologies used to collect, sort, process, and reuse waste materials, including plastics, into new products. These systems aim to reduce the waste sent to the landfills and promote the reuse of materials, decreasing the demand for new raw materials. United Nations Environment Programme 2018 Single-Use Plastics, a roadmap for sustainability, defines plastic pollution as the accumulation of plastic products and particles in the environment, especially in our oceans, rivers, and landscapes, which adversely affect wildlife, ecosystems, and human health. The OECS recognizes the threat of plastic pollution as a pressing concern in the region and has worked to promote environmental sustainability through regional agreements. According to an OECS Development and Sustainable Development Goal 2019, addressing plastic pollution is crucial for the future of the region, where tourism and marine resources are key drivers of economic activity. According to the Cambridge Advanced Dictionary, effective is defined as achieving the desired results. This moot, seemingly simplistic at face value, is rather profound in its essence, and failure to fully understand the key terms of the moot may actually lend itself to misinterpretation. In light of the definitions given, I will now put the moots into perspective. Encouraging people to use, support, or buy goods and services in a way that minimizes negative environmental impact, prioritizes sustainability, and encourages ethical decision-making will achieve greater results in reducing the accumulation of plastic products and particles in the environment, compared to improving the infrastructure, processes, and technologies used to collect, sort, process, and reuse waste materials in the OECS. Honorable Chair, this is insanity. Promoting responsible consumption by itself is not a terrible idea, but we cannot keep beating the dead horse. According to the former counsel of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Energy Ministers, Honorable Karine James 2022, and I quote, I am aware that some consumption habits are very hard to break, especially those which have become a part of our lives. End of quote. However, what we aspire to achieve is a reduction of plastic waste ending up in the landfills, rivers, and landscapes. Honorable Chair, according to the OECS media release in January 2022, the OECS continues to tackle plastic pollution in the Caribbean. Plastic pollution is a major problem in the Eastern Caribbean, and tackling plastic pollution is critical for environmental sustainability, human health, and the economic viability of major sectors. According to the United Nations Environment Programme publication September 2024, over 320,000 tons of plastic waste remain uncollected yearly in the OECS, and this number is expected to significantly increase. And single-use plastics and polystyrene comprise over 80% of Caribbean marine litter. The impact of marine plastics cleanup in Grenada alone in 2022 was a staggering $16 million. Plastic pollution is not an envisaged environmental problem. It is an immediate, current, today concern that requires not an eventual, slow solution, but rather an immediate, sustainable, proactive solution. Promoting sustainable consumption requires an entire paradigm shift, which will take time that we do not have, time that the turtles do not have, time that the landfills do not have, and time that our ecosystems do not have. This reduction of plastic pollution can only be done effectively and sustainably by improving our recycling systems in the OECS. When we have an issue of such great magnitude with potential detrimental public health, economic implications, and with the ability to derail the entire OECS, it cannot be trivialized to mere moral persuasion, nor can it be left to encouraging conscious choices as the mood suggests, especially where our consumption patterns are culturally engraved. Honorable Chair, all OECS countries are characterized as small island developing states. They are characterized by the similar sustainable development challenges. According to the UNDP climate promise, they all have limited access to finance, high debt to GDP ratio, heavy reliance on imports, dependency on ocean resources, and vulnerability to external shocks. According to the World Bank document, The Fight Against Food Security in the Caribbean 2022, the Caribbean relies heavily on food imports for domestic consumption. In the OECS, plastic packaging and single-use plastics are often ingrained in daily life, especially in the food and beverage industries. Changing these habits will not be immediate, especially without proper governmental and corporate support. Given that OECS countries are heavily reliant on imports for consumption, they have little or no control on packaging, and thus making responsible consumption not pragmatic to reduce plastic pollution, especially at the consumer level. The most effective way to reduce plastic pollution must be through the strengthening of our recycling systems, for example, through the use of legislation. According to the Remnant Report 2022, it suggests that in order to reduce the adverse effects of plastic pollution on oceans, what is required is the following. 1. OECS harmonized policy and legislation for effective waste management. 2. Presenting best practices, coordinating mechanisms, and implementing action plan. 3. Recommend programs to facilitate waste reduction, recycling, diversion, and disposal. The implementation of legislation such as an Environmental Public Health Act as practiced in Singapore and the waste separation laws as practiced in Germany. These serve to prevent and dictate the appropriate disposal of waste and strengthen our recycling systems. While laws mandate and dictate, promoting responsible consumption only persuades. Plastic pollution cannot be reduced more effectively through persuasion or encouraging or promoting conscious choices. No man is above the law and no man is below it. Nor do we ask any man permission when we require him to obey it. Theodore Roosevelt. I thank.
With 7 seconds left on the clock, ladies and gentlemen, Kia Marisho of TAMCC. As we give the judges some more room to deliberate and tally, I will come with you with the 3 R's. We're all familiar with reduce, reuse, recycle. I think this is an anthem that plays along in the sustainable development community, but what do they really, truly encapsulate? Well, to reduce, in some cases, it's not possible to refuse goods entirely. For example, medical services and vaccination campaigns depend on single-use plastic products like syringes and sterile packaging of instruments and drugs which have very little alternatives. While beverage bottles are one of the most littered items in our small island developing states, they are often essential to ensure that clean drinking water is available to our most remote communities. Poor maintenance and pollution of traditional and public urban rural water supply systems have resulted in consumer preference for drinking bottled water. This need is felt even further during natural disasters or disaster release efforts. In this instance, reduction in use or reduction on reliance of these products in a sustainable manner while maintaining the community access to the product that they are offering is required. In the case of food and water provision, interventions may then focus on restoration and upgrading of traditional local production and supply systems along the delivery of emergency aid. So in not all instances would it be possible to cut out our plastic pollution entirely, but what can we do to substitute in those instances? In terms of reuse, when plastic or any waste material cannot be avoided or reduced, reuse is our next best option. To reuse refers to the purposeful use of a product or a material with a similar function or repurposing for other functions. In this case, this refers to the product being reused during consumption at source, prior to becoming a waste product. Reuse can minimize the ecological footprint of a product or material by increasing its functional life as it continues to be used. Reuse interventions require greater emphasis on, above all, an enabling regulatory environment for businesses and consumers, supported by education and awareness to drive this change. Our judges have indicated that they are ready to continue on, which is why I now invite Mrs. Shade Gustav, who is currently a second-year student at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College pursuing Cape Law, Sociology, and Literature. Though an avid reader, she is extremely passionate about volunteering and giving back to her communities. She has worked with a number of organizations on projects focused primarily on climate action as well as youth and community development. In 2023, she also participated in national and regional forums, including parliaments and debates focused on climate action and domestic violence. Notably, she served as a national youth parliamentarian in 2022 and 2023. The seconder for the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, I now invite Ms. Shade Gustav to grace the stage.
People v. ExxonMobil Corp. California State Attorney General Rob Bonta. For decades, ExxonMobil has been deceiving the public to convince us that plastic recycling could solve the plastic waste and pollution crisis, when they clearly knew this wasn't possible. Today, far beyond the Court of California and in our Court of Regional Progression, this insipid illusion is on trial. Esteemed judges, my worthy opponents, I ask you, will the OECS learn from this failure or fall victim to the same deception? While my leader has exposed the economic impracticalities of recycling in our region, I will prove that responsible consumption is not only more effective, but essential, as legislative dictum has amply demonstrated through example. It has the power to reshape individual behavior and ensure corporate compliance and accountability for the reduction of plastic pollution. Before moving any further, though, I believe it imperative to establish that the failure of plastic recycling is not an abstract concept, rather an empirical fact that demands a response significantly more robust than the superficial tinkering provided by recycling. And as this failure is being laid bare at the feet of our collective future, our response must be uncompromising. This is why legislative action, particularly the implementation of policies that curb consumption at the source, is not only the best option, but in fact the most efficacious means of addressing the plastic pollution crisis. Like the leader of the opposition has stated, no man is above the law and no man is below it. Moderator, we understand that our worthy opponents, though slightly misguided, would have argued for improving recycling technologies, etc. But this offers a panacea because such solutions have dismally failed to account for the fallacy that California's litigation of Exxon has exposed. For brevity and frankly emotional composure, I need not repeat this inconvenient truth. The only solution of the production and consumption cycle is its disruption at the inception. Ban plastics where feasible. Moderator, let's consider legislative interventions such as the ban on single use of plastics, polluter-related taxation, and the articulation of an enhanced extended producer responsibility, EPR, to serve as crucial levers for enacting the necessary paradigmatic change required to arrest the flow of plastic pollution into the environment. In St. Lucia, we have an accompanying example in support of this. The government's decision to implement a ban on styrofoam and plastic food services in 2019 resulted in a quote-unquote, according to the St. Lucian Times, speedy reduction in plastic waste. The initiative stood as a substantial move towards environmental sustainability and inspired actions of, for example, Massey Stores, who reported an approximated 80 to 90% reduction in the circulation of single-use plastic bags across its stores in the region, including St. Lucia. The St. Lucia Times reported this reduction translated to over 40.5 million bags being removed from circulation within the year. This was also the case in Grenada, who saw a decrease in plastic waste from 16.4% in 2009 prior to the ban to 13.7% in 2018. Yet, despite this growing momentum in legislation, we're now still questioning, and I'm questioning myself, why then do we continue to pour resources into a recycling fallacy that remains fundamentally broken? Efficient plastic recycling requires substantial processing capacities to be economically viable and environmentally effective. However, let's take a look at Recycle OECS, shall we? Recycle OECS has pointed out the fact that countries in this region face significant challenges with the volume of plastic produced. And let's look at one of the smaller sustainable plastic recycling plants in Switzerland, who processes about 200,000 tons of plastic per year. Think about that. Really do think about that. In relation to how much plastic produced, this is the smallest recycling plant in Switzerland. How do we compare on that scale? Ladies and gentlemen, this stark contrast highlights the pressing need for substantial investment in recycling infrastructure. However, we also call into question, where is that money coming from? From who? From where? Banning the use of plastics is free. Legislative bans must take precedence over recycling. I now move on to speaking about individual responsibility. Mia Motley is noted for stating that the key to a good decision or good decision making is not knowledge, it is understanding. We are now swimming in the former knowledge, and we are desperately lacking the latter, understanding. Despite understanding that our worthy opponents have misguided, the success of plastic bans in the OECS already proves the power of individual consumption-driven solutions. St. Lucian's ban on plastic bags in 2021 led to a 20 to 25% reduction in plastic waste within the first year, while in Antigua and Barbuda, we saw a 30% increase in reusable shopping bag usage following the public awareness campaigns in 2020. CDB in 2020 found that communities with strong social ties and a sense of collective responsibility were more likely to adopt waste practices were more likely to enforce and adopt sustainable waste practices, reinforcing that cultural and behavioral shifts, not just technical recycling processes, drive lasting environmental change. Notwithstanding a recently published study, Plastic Policy Hypocrisies, reinforces this argument, revealing the critical flaw in plastic waste management in Caribbean SIDS. While bans and regulations exist, recycling infrastructure remains grossly inadequate, and plastic imports continue at unsustainable levels. This aligns with findings from the OECS Environmental Policy Forum in 2018, which confirmed that individuals who reduce their plastic use, switch to sustainable alternatives, and engage in community-led initiatives create a ripple effect, inspiring widespread behavioral shifts. This is not a call to abandon recycling efforts, no, but rather an acknowledgement that the greatest environmental gains lie in minimizing plastic consumption from the onset, before waste even enters the system. And so finally, I invite you to indulge me as I give you an idea of what we mean by corporate responsibility. Right now, let's look at Chile, for instance. Their deregulated plastic production policies have led to over 30,000 tons of plastic waste annually. Now, according to the UNEP, they are the most polluted country in the world. The solution here in the OECS, we don't want this to happen. This is not something we want to see replicated. The solution here is to make the price of pollution unsustainable. Indulge me. Four basic factors of production: land, capital, and labor. If we consider pollution as a factor of production under extended producer responsibility, this version of EPR would eliminate the use of plastics for reusable containers where feasible. Take, for example, Windward and Leeward Island Brewery here, who use these principles in giving and selling plastics so that customers are incentivized to recycle. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to leave you with this. Let us move beyond the idea that recycling is effective and take steps necessary to build a sustainable future. Thank you.
Coming in at about 10 minutes and 3 seconds, the second 7 minutes and 3 seconds, our seconder from the St. Arthur Lewis Community College, Miss Shade Gustave. While our judges work on tabulating, let me tell you a little bit more about the Recycle OECS project, as well as its youth engagement. You see, this debate competition is a student engagement initiative of the Recycle OECS project. Recycle OECS is being implemented by the OECS Commission in partnership with the development agency Agence Française de Développement, with funding from the European Union. A key aim of that project is to reduce plastic pollution in the OECS region. It falls under a broader EU Zero Waste initiative, which works to strengthen the EU-Caribbean partnership for cooperation in the field of circular economy and solid waste management. The full scope of activities in pursuit of that goal included extensive research and the design of a recycling model for waste separation, collection, and processing that is sustainable. The systems and structure involved make them most eligible to implement a demonstration of this model. The Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority, as well as the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, met the eligibility criteria and run their projects between July 2023 and December 2024. The project also seeks to increase awareness of the threat and the risks of unchecked plastic pollution and pollution in general to people, environment, and economy. Therefore, the project's target audience is diverse, encompassing policymakers, investors, the commercial sector, the waste management sector, community partners, households, and youth. Through their participation in the debates, the students at the leading colleges in the Windward Islands have an opportunity to research the broad range of cross-cutting issues related to waste management and to add their voice to the discourse. To involve youth and communities, the Recycle OECS project has the potential to transform how we handle our waste in our small islands. Launched in 2023, it is showing our OECS region and small island developing states in general can work together to protect the economic systems which sustain lives, livelihoods, and their economic futures from plastic pollution. The project has already engaged thousands of school and community-based youth who are leading the charge for change in their communities. Moving along to the opposition seconder, Joshua Noel brings a remarkable record of academic excellence and leadership to the debate stage. Currently studying economics, business management, and pure mathematics at T.A. Marichaud Community College, this 18-year-old scholar has consistently demonstrated exceptional abilities throughout his educational journey. As a two-time valedictorian with 11 grade 1s at SALCC, Joshua's academic prowess is matched by his leadership capabilities. At TAMCC, he serves as chairperson of the Student Representative Council while maintaining outstanding CAPE results. Participating in debate club and engaging in various student activities, his blend of scholastic achievement and student leadership brings a dynamic presence to the collegiate debate platform. Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming to the stage, Joshua Noel.
My proponents are very good at finding support for what they want to believe. But it is all too easy to fall into the trap of assuming that the only thing to see is what we happen to be looking for. As the famous psychologist Abraham Maslow observed, and I quote, "To the man who only has a hammer in the toolkit, every problem looks like a nail." End of quote. The definitions provided by the proposition are too narrow in its scope and do not lend themselves to an academic discourse. Such a parochial interpretation is not contextually appropriate, for it limits the nature and intended purpose of this academic exercise. Consequently, I reject the definitions and stand by the definitions put forward by my first speaker. I will reiterate on the definition for promote. According to Cambridge Advanced Dictionary, promote is defined as to encourage people to like, buy, use, do, or support something. Honorable Chair, improving recycling systems is more effective than promoting responsible consumption in the thrust to reduce plastic pollution in the OECS. Strengthening recycling systems can significantly diminish environmental pollution by minimizing waste generation and promoting the reuse and recycling of materials. This approach is crucial for the OECS, where ecosystems are particularly vulnerable to pollution. For example, the Recycle OECS project aimed to reduce plastic pollution by developing sustainable waste separation, collection, and recycling models in the OECS. This initiative not only addresses waste management, but simultaneously raises awareness about the environmental and health risks associated with plastic pollution. According to the GIZ publication titled Reducing the Input of Plastic Litter into the Ocean, Applicability and Effects of Selected Instruments, some 20 million plastic bottles are estimated to be imported and consumed yearly in Grenada, amounting to 604 tons. Each year, around 30% of that number, ladies and gentlemen, 181 tons, remains unmanaged and ends up littering the land environment and thus potentially the oceans. The Zero Waste in the Caribbean initiative support OECS member states in developing appropriate waste management strategies, aiming to align waste management systems using circular economy principles and reduce reliance on landfills. If governments in the region lack vision for the OECS and fail to take a transformational approach to waste management, then every problem looks like a nail. Case in point, according to the International Solid Waste Association ISWA 2020, while recycling systems can help reduce plastic waste, the effectiveness is often hindered by logistical and financial constraints, particularly in small island nations. The ISWA highlights that the success of recycling systems depends on public participation, effective waste sorting, and the availability of processing technology. In a study on recycling effectiveness, Hopewell et al. 2009, it discusses the challenges associated with plastic recycling, noting that only a small percentage of plastics are recycled globally. They concluded that improving recycling systems alone is insufficient without addressing the root causes of plastic overproduction. This serves to highlight the need for improving the infrastructure, processes, and technologies used to collect, sort, process, and reuse plastic materials into new products. Jambeck et al. 2015, Plastic Waste Inputs from Land into the Ocean, I quote, estimates that plastic waste in the oceans will only increase unless substantial changes are made in consumption patterns, waste management, and recycling systems. Their work emphasizes that the focus should be on reducing plastic production and consumption, in addition to improving recycling efforts. Strengthening recycling, end quote. Strengthening recycling systems in the OECS may sound like a daunting task, requiring large capital investments. However, something as simple as procuring a compactor truck, which will help facilitate recycling waste materials, as done in Dominica in 2014, is an example of strengthening recycling systems. Additionally, one must remember it involves improving the infrastructure, technology, and processes used to collect, sort, process, and reuse plastic materials. This transition into the circular economy can stimulate economic growth by creating new job opportunities in recycling, remanufacturing, and sustainable product design. It also reduces dependency on imported materials, enhancing economic resilience. For instance, in Dominica, the Solid Waste Management Corporation implemented a curbside collection system for recyclables. This system not only improved recycling efforts, but also contributed to the local economy by creating jobs in waste collection and processing. Honorable Chair, for one to propose that promoting responsible consumption is more effective than improving recycling systems to reduce plastic pollution in the OECS is ill-considered and short-sighted. Recycling systems and promoting responsible consumption are not mutually exclusive. Therefore, there must be a marriage between both strategies to effectively reduce plastic pollution. Because we have always had a hammer in our toolkit, does not mean that every problem is a nail. Sometimes both a hammer and chisel are effective and very effective. I thank you.
With a time of 6 minutes and 50 seconds, that was Joshua Noel, the seconder from TAMCC Grenada. Ladies and gentlemen, before we head straight into the rebuttal section of today's debate, we will allow a 5-minute period for our opposition members of TAMCC to prepare their rebuttal speech.
Now, it's considered to be one of the biggest threats to the world's oceans. Delegates from UN member states are gathering here to confront the problem of plastic pollution. The goal is to agree on a global
If given a chance, your plastic would choose to be put to more beneficial use. Choose recycling.
Now, it's considered to be one of the biggest threats to the world's oceans. Delegates from UN member states are gathering here.
The Recycle OECS model is structured on 5 pillars. Pillar 1, the technical pillar.
Landfill space is a finite resource. As with us in terms of landfilling, we estimate optimistically about 3 years left with our landfill. We're all faced regionally with the same problem, economies of scale. How do you make plastic a resource and get into a circular economy system with that? We opted not just for baling, but for a pelletizing plant. For pelletizing, that becomes the raw material for plastic manufacturing. For the residual materials, such as the HDPE or other types of plastics, we can then redirect to various projects, such as the No to Single Use project, to include in block making and so on. With the twinning with ourselves and Dominica, that would make Dominica, for example, a source of the raw material, aggregate material coming to us, which we then process up to the pellet stage.
We're back, ladies and gents. The 5-minute period for development of rebuttals has ended. And before we move into them, let me remind you of our criteria, as it is a bit different to that of our prepared speeches. Whereas our prepared speeches were marked out of 100, our rebuttals will be marked out of 60. They will be marked according to 5 criteria. Out of 10 points, team coordination accounts for clear presentation of different points as well as demonstration of original use of duplicated points. Having a well-organized team with each member having a substantial and equally fair role is important. Our second criteria, the general analysis of the debate. Teams need to illustrate both breadth and depth of knowledge, have a clear explanation of how opponent points are inaccurate, inconsistent, exaggerated, and/or irrelevant, as well as having a clear defense of their team's position being better than the opposing teams. Our third criteria, the recall of points. We need to accurately recall the other's team points without any misrepresentation. We also need a strong appeal to reject the argument or to accept a counter-argument. This will be out of 10 points. The ability to refute points will be out of 20 points. We need you to effectively counter-argue each of our opponent's points, use credible examples, have a certain level of persuasiveness with your arguments, and we need clarity and organization from your arguments. Lastly, out of 5 points, spontaneity. We need your rebuttals to not be memorized, but they should demonstrate responsiveness to the current arguments which are presented. As always, we begin our rebuttals with the opposition. So I now call on the rebuttal for the T.A. Marichaud Community College to take the stage.
Good afternoon, adjudicators, worthy opponents, and well-wishers. We have witnessed from the proposition a house built on a shaky foundation destined to fall. Should we continue to allow them to build or demolish the infrastructure? We are compelled to demolish. The first speaker defined promote to include legislation. Honorable Chair, it is important to note that we did not accept the definitions proposed by the proposition. My second speaker reiterated the rejection of the definitions proposed on the grounds that it was limited in scope and contextually misleading. Have you ever heard someone promoting a product and making it in law to buy it? Promote, based on the etymology of the word, also known as the origin of the word, means to encourage. To suggest that promote is inclusive of legislation and enforcement is a far stretch of the truth and absolutely erroneous. The first speaker stated that responsible consumption includes production and consumption. Honorable Chair, based on the principles of economics and coupled with logic, it will be irresponsible of me to perpetuate the notion that consumption and production are one and the same. Consumption relates to consumers and production relates to producers. Two different concepts. Responsible consumption refers to the use of goods and services in a way that minimizes environmental impact, prioritizes sustainability, and encourages ethical decision-making by consumers, not producers. Then responsible production and responsible consumption are the same thing? Honorable Chair, this is insanity. Additionally, the first speaker stated that responsible consumption stops plastic production at the source. However, before it enters into the environment, that in itself is strengthening recycling systems. Is strengthening recycling systems because the definition for recycling system refers to the infrastructure, processes, and technologies used to collect, sort, process, and reuse waste materials, including plastics, into new products. The first speaker stated that China restricted its imports due to plastic practice and levels and mountains of plastic piled in Asia. The opposition has fallaciously appealed to an inappropriate authority, mentioning countries such as China, Asia, Chile, and the US. These countries cannot be compared, nor can they be used as an appropriate authority, for these countries are not similar in nature to the economical, geographical, and socio-political construct of the OECS region. So, using these countries as comparison or sources, for example, is a fallacious in nature. The second speaker made the argument that responsible consumption reshapes individual behavior. Raising awareness is crucial, and this might be true, but it takes time that we do not have, time that the turtles do not have, time that the landfills do not have, and time that our ecosystems do not have. Plastic pollution is not an envisaged environmental problem. It is an immediate current today concern that requires not an eventual slow solution, but rather an immediate, present, sustainable, proactive solution. And if you want greater effectiveness, there must be marriage between both concepts. The second speaker also made the argument that legislative action, particularly policy, is essential for responsible consumption. However, we strongly disagree with this assertion, as it goes against our definition of what it means to promote responsible consumption. As stated earlier by my first speaker, our definition of promote refers to encouraging individuals to like, want, buy, use, like, or support something, to make conscious choices about their consumption. It is about empowering consumers to take personal responsibility for their actions and decisions. The second speaker also stated that banning the use of plastics is free. However, I would like to point out that this view overlooks the real cost of shifting consumer behavior. As highlighted by my first speaker, plastic pollution in the OECS remains a serious, urgent issue. The United Nations Environment Programme reported in 2024 320,000 tons of plastic waste remain uncollected annually in the OECS. It requires years of public education, governmental and corporate investment, and societal buy-in resources that could be more effectively used in strengthening recycling systems. To conclude, recycling system is more effective than responsible consumption. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Kia Marisho of T.A. Marisho Community College, Grenada, with her rebuttal speech of 5 minutes and 3 seconds. Moving along, giving our judges a little bit more time to rebuttal. Glad to have you back. I now welcome the proposition side from the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College to grace the stage for the 5-minute period to deliver their rebuttals.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Our planet got on board the recycling train back in the 1970s, some of us before our parents were even born. And yet at this point in 2025, only 9% of plastic worldwide is being recycled. But sure, insanity. I will get through this opposition's arguments through 5 simple ways. 1, definition. 2, magnitude. 3, time. 4, practicality. And 5, inevitability. Now, first of all, it seems that the opposition is really a fan of definitions. They use the advanced dictionary. They told us about the etymology of words from the 15th century. They told us that they wanted to flat out reject our definitions. But the fact is, both of us referenced the UN Sustainable Development Goal number 12. It seems that both of us understood that in the OECS, marine pollution is a problem. So it seems that they are trying to act like we are diametrically opposed, but really we stand looking at the same situation. Now, at many points, the leader of the opposition wanted to say that we are using the word promotion incorrectly and that apparently it's supposed to be a marketing term. But it is not simply that. There needs to be a certain level of flexibility in how we define promote. Of course, if you have, for example, litter wardens who are out on the streets and they see that if you're littering, you are going to get fined, that is promoting a certain type of behavior, for example. That encourages something. Second of all, let's talk about magnitude. Now, they brought forward a lot of definitions. We talked about definitions. My academic friends, they talked a lot about magnitude. They talked about how much plastic pollution is in the sea. They mentioned all of the millions of tons and all of this size, but really and truly, they didn't demonstrate what type it is. They didn't truly demonstrate, as my leader said, they had the knowledge, but they didn't demonstrate an understanding of the type of plastic. For example, they had spoken about how much ocean pollution there is. They mentioned polystyrene, but moderator, polystyrene is not recyclable. The main kinds of recycling that we have in the OECS and in most countries, we have the kinds of bottles that you use from drinking water, is it PET plastic? And we have, is it HDPE? That's the kind like, for example, milk cartons. Those are the kinds of plastic that we use. But they hadn't demonstrated just how much of this plastic would work under the recycling system that they are proposing. Secondly, they stated that it's going to take time. It's going to take time that the turtles do not have. However, when we said that legislation is free, it is true. It's true. For example, they said that we cannot do it without legislation support. But we never said that. Why is that all of a sudden something we're considering? Why do we have to negate legislative support? For example, St. Lucia had our Styrofoam Prohibition Act in 2019, and it's 2025. At this point, we essentially have a ban. I haven't seen a Styrofoam container in so long. Everybody's carrying around their Massey bag that has the pretty lady on it. Every time you see that, it's a part of our culture at this point that we use recyclable materials. Next, moving on, they spoke of a lot of lack of practicality. They didn't demonstrate an understanding of where we currently are in the OECS. They said many times that we lacked vision. All right then, well, in order to have a vision, you need to understand where you are coming from. They had also accused us in their rebuttal of going on about China. Now, let me just mention that we didn't mention China as something to compare to. It's simply saying where our recyclable material is going to end up. But I digress. They spoke of a lot of lack of practicality. They didn't mention exactly how the system is going to work. For example, they had said that Dominica has their plastic is it recycling? Right, the recycling program on curbside, but they didn't demonstrate the specifics of how it works. They said it generates, employment, but they didn't say how much employment. And anyways, back to our point, we had been saying that it's not sustainable. These are short-term projects. Yes, you might create a few jobs from the people who do the weekly pickup, but how much are you really sustaining our economy? And finally, I would like to talk about inevitability. Now, the seconder did in fact state substantial changes in consumption patterns are necessary. However, the leaders seemed to be completely against everything that we were saying, so there was a bit of a disconnect between those 2 points. But they continued to state over and over and over again just how much plastic is in our environment, that there's this much plastic, but they hadn't said how we are going to solve the problem at the root. They hadn't said how are we going to reduce this. They hadn't understood where is the plastic, where is it coming from, what is it made of, none of this. They did not show an understanding of the topic, and therefore, as the proposition, we cannot accept their arguments. Thank you.
With a time of 5 minutes on the dot, that was Ms. Shine Savory, leader of the proposition side here at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, St. Lucia. Now our judges have the unenviable task of calculating, tabulating, and putting together to ultimately decide the victor of today's debate. While that happens, we will take a short break and then some time to formulate some thoughts on our own personal beliefs and conceptions on this serious issue. See you then.
The Recycle OECS model is structured on 5 pillars. Pillar 1, the technical pillar.
Landfill space is a finite resource. As with us in terms of landfilling, we estimate optimistically about 3 years left with our landfill. We're all faced regionally with the same problem, economies of scale. How do you make plastic a resource and get into a circular economy system with that? We opted not just for baling, but for a pelletizing plant. For pelletizing, that becomes the raw material for plastic manufacturing. For the residual materials, such as the HDPE or other types of plastics, we can then redirect to various projects, such as the no to single use project, to include in block making and so on. With the twinning with ourselves and Dominica, that would make Dominica, for example, a source of the raw material, aggregate material coming to us, which we then process up to the pellet stage.
In a world where our economic lifelines and natural beauty are at risk, plastic pollution is a silent threat to our OECS islands. It is more than an environmental issue. It is an economic crisis hitting tourism, our economic backbone, and impacting every aspect of our livelihood. Our pristine beaches and vibrant seas, essential for tourism, are marred by plastics. This not only diminishes the beauty of our landscapes, but leads to lower land values, increased health costs, and a decline in tourism. The ripple effects across agriculture and fisheries erode our economic foundation. Pollution transcends boundaries, making this a shared problem requiring a unified solution. It is a call to arms for member states, the private sector, and every citizen. Together, we can address this menace through collaboration and innovation. The Recycle OECS project is our collective response. It is an ambitious initiative to design a regional strategy for plastic waste management, showcasing the power of our united efforts. As we stand at this crossroad, the path we choose today will define our tomorrow. Let's opt for a future where our children can revel in the beauty of our lands, unmarred by pollution. Envision a future where our economies flourish, driven by the engines of sustainable practices. This is our moment to act, to unite, and to inspire change. Together, let's sculpt a legacy of environmental stewardship and economic resilience for generations to come.
Many of us take our health and well-being seriously. We exercise, we eat right, we try hard. Sometimes we give up, but we can't give up on the health of land and the seas that sustain us. We must reduce the amount of plastic weight we generate individually. A person can generate up to 70 times their weight in waste. That's over 10,000 pounds of plastic over a lifetime. Now multiply that by the country's population. Without reuse, repurposing, or recycling, each OECS island will generate more than 1 billion pounds of plastic waste over a lifetime. This can't be our legacy. Separate plastic waste for transport to a facility that reuses, repurposes, or recycles.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
Hello, OECS.
Dominica is living up to its reputation as the Nature Isle and its goal to be a resilient country. We are establishing a recycling culture, ridding our landfill of plastic waste. Under the Recycle OECS pilot project, residents and business owners are being encouraged to see the potential in plastic. Every day, plastic bottles can be sorted and prepared for collection and recycling. Plastic is not waste. There is opportunity in plastic recycling. Our health and the unmatched pristine Dominica environment protected, and the potential arena for investment for OECS entrepreneurs. Let's explore the possibilities and turn plastic into profit.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
Many of us take our health and well-being seriously. We exercise, we eat right, we try hard. Sometimes we give up, but we can't give up on the health of land and the seas that sustain us. We must reduce the amount of plastic weight we generate individually. A person can generate up to 70 times their weight in waste. That's over 10,000 pounds of plastic over a lifetime. Now multiply that by the country's population. Without reuse, repurposing, or recycling, each OECS island will generate more than 1 billion pounds of plastic waste over a lifetime. This can't be our legacy. Separate plastic waste for transport to a facility that reuses, repurposes, or recycles.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
Hello, OECS.
Grenada is on a track to become a Caribbean trendsetter for waste management and recycling. We are establishing a recycling culture to rid our landfill, our country, of plastic waste. Under the OECS Recycle Pilot Project, residents and the business sector are being encouraged to see the potential in plastic. Every day, plastic bottles can be stored and prepared for collection and recycling. Plastic is not waste. There is investment opportunity in plastic recycling, sustainable clean water, food safety, beautiful beaches, marine spaces, and a potential arena for investment for OECS entrepreneurs. Let's recycle and explore avenues to convert plastic into profit.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
Hello, OECS.
Dominica is living up to its reputation as the Nature Isle and its goal to be a resilient country. We are establishing a recycling culture, ridding our landfill of plastic waste. Under the Recycle OECS pilot project, residents and business owners are being encouraged to see the potential in plastic. Every day, plastic bottles can be sorted and prepared for collection and recycling. Plastic is not waste. There is opportunity in plastic recycling. Our health and the unmatched pristine Dominica environment protected, and the potential arena for investment for OECS entrepreneurs. Let's explore the possibilities and turn plastic into profit.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
Here's an assignment for you super sleuths, should you choose to accept. Every single-use plastic thrown into the environment has a fingerprint on it. Who does it belong to? That plastic bottle or food container was imported and distributed to warehouses, supermarkets, shops, food trucks, school canteens, vendors' trays, and eventually made its way to us. So how did it get buried in the environment? Whose fingerprint is on this? Since several laws, including international agreements, prohibit polluting, hold on to that plastic bottle or food container until you get to a bin and dispose of it properly. Separate plastic waste for transport to a facility that reuses, repurposes, or recycles. It's the responsible thing to do.
So I'm sure you and I have many different opinions based on what transpired today. And both islands may have comments to make based on the moots, which may I remind you of the moot being promoting responsible consumption is more effective than improving recycling systems in reducing plastic pollution in the OECS. Well, we actually have a certified expert here with you to address those comments and those little questions that you have in your mind. So I now welcome to the podium Mr. Chamberlain Emmanuel. He is the head of Environmental Sustainability Division at the OECS Commission, and he will help engage meaningful discussion based on today's topics. So I now hand you over to Mr. Chamberlain.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. And as our judges are in the middle of their deliberations, just want to, really commend both teams for excellent work. And it's clear that they did a lot of research. There's a lot that goes into this, not just on the day of the debate, and also those who supported them. So the Commission really wants to thank and applaud the quality work and the way each institution really represented themselves very well. So, round of applause to you on that.
I think we have a comment from the staff of the
Yeah. Okay.
So you can invite the staff of the auditorium.
Okay, so those in the audience at South Louis, you have a question or comment?
Okay. I'm not quite sure why I'm here, but I would like to ask and start open the discussion. Would you say that the integration of both recycling and the minimization of waste usage, wouldn't you say that would be the ideal way in which to manage waste in the OECS, in order to improve the environment and whatnot? Would you agree with that?
Yes, thanks. And certainly, I think as we listened, there were some powerful points on both sides. As I think, based on what was said, it was clear that there are some great arguments for recycling, but also there are some great arguments for taking a more, integrated, more long-term approach. And I think even one of the teams also admitted that the combinations would really work. So yes, certainly. And as I said in my open remarks, we also learning, because we need to hear the voices of the youth and their own research as we continue to refine the model and the approaches that we take.
As an expert,
does
I would
this
also
answer
like
the
to
question?
know how much do these recycling initiatives usually cost? I believe this was a point brought up by both the proposition and the opposition, but just coming from an expert opinion, are these initiatives financially feasible for countries in the Caribbean and specifically the OECS?
Yeah, excellent question. That is why in the model it speaks to both the economic pillar as well as the financial mechanism pillar. And that really takes a combination of incentives and policies on the government side to make it viable, but also the business model. For example, whether there is a fee for returning the bottles, a refundable fee. Do we get grants to take care of the initial capital? So all of these are, it's a complex working out of how to make it viable, but it does cost a lot of money, and that's why most times, we need some sort of support from the outside. But for it to be sustainable, we need to find a mechanism where there's some internal revenue generation also.
Okay, it's also been observed that a lot of our funding for these initiatives come from first world countries. So, do you think that reliance on grant funding is really sustainable in developing these industries or these initiatives in the region?
Yes, well, most times it's required, especially in the initial stages of the capital investment. And sometimes also there is also a moral argument. If we're speaking about those who contribute the plastic, we're not producers of of these products. We're not oil producing countries. So there is also a moral argument where they have to contribute to the problem that they have created. However, to your point of sustainability, notwithstanding the initial capital that may come for grants, we need to find other sources, other means of making it viable, making it sustainable. And so the grants alone will not make it sustainable.
Okay, that's good to know. So, with that being said, do you or anybody you know have any plans that could possibly make this sustainable?
Yes, well, actually, that was a key requirement of the Recycle OECS project. We had a consortium on board who would have done the research and also began the process of demonstrating the model in Dominica and Grenada, as well as giving some support to an initial pilot that was started in St. Lucia. But the jury is still out. It is still a work in progress. The two countries are still in the process of demonstrating, and so over time, and so we've now just completed the initial investment, and so over time we'll continue to monitor and continue to refine and learn so that we can get to what is a model for our context in the OECS.
Okay. Granted, considering the fact that we are two college bodies or multiple college bodies speaking, would you say that education on matters regarding recycling and waste reduction, would you say that we are undereducated as a society? What I mean by this is that it is not taught enough in schools, because since fourth grade, I haven't heard anything about recycling initiatives and I haven't learned anything new. It's kind of just gone dark. So I personally think that it should be taught throughout school. Would you agree with me? And if so, how would you integrate this?
Well, thanks, but I cannot disagree with you. It's as someone in the system. So if you're saying that enough is not being taught, then I guess the point is instructive. What I would say is we have been investing a lot in public awareness, but the truth is, are we really seeing the right level of results for that investment in public awareness? We need to look at other approaches to that public engagement and empowerment, so that, to your point, we can really change the DNA from the younger ones, so that the next generation can really be fully empowered, and we can change the way our behavior in terms of waste management.
All right, understood. Well, I personally think that the incentivization of things like rewards and monetary gain, even for the children, would actually be a lot, because we are all very money-hungry individuals, especially in this modern age. We like things, which is unfortunate, and it does contribute to our waste problem. However, yes, thank you for sharing that. I'm contemplating another question to ask. Does any of the audience wish to interact with the sir?
Carelessly, I was tossed out. I was considered trash. And many thought that's all I'd ever be. Some told me to give up, go back to the landfill, so that I could take 450 years to decompose. No, I dream of a different life, of being part of something better, stronger, and more purposeful.
If given a chance, your plastic would choose to be put to more beneficial use. Choose recycling.
Okay, great. So I'm not going to speak too much about the debates as the scores are still being tallied, but just one thing I noticed that came up quite often is the examples of recycling in the different parts of the world. And what I wanted to highlight is we are aware in the Department of Sustainable Development, and I'm sure in the OECS Commission, of a number of initiatives that are coming up to promote recycling, not just from the point of processing of plastics, but also to establish a full system for collection, depots to support segregation of the different types of plastic, and of course the processing facilities to ensure that these plastics can be recycled within the region. One key thing to note is, while we do recognize that the economies of scale that would support a recycling system are quite maybe not necessarily fully feasible for each individual island, through a collaborative effort as Caribbean islands and as Eastern Caribbean states, it can become feasible, it can become something that is sustainable as long as we have that regional approach to taking on and establishing this kind of system. So we're aware of a few initiatives that are trying to promote that as much as possible. And without saying too much and spilling all the beans, I just want to say that we can look forward to the implementation. I know within the next, throughout this year and in the next year, we hope that these things can become more popularized and be just on stream a bit more, so we can see this being a more feasible system for each island and in general just for the region. So we look forward to public support on that. I'm just putting this information forward, but of course there will be more education and awareness campaigns that will make you more aware of the specific details and how all the average citizens can get involved in these initiatives. So this is kind of just a trailer, a teaser trailer to let you know something big is coming. Look out for it. Thanks.
Tag, I'm it.
Tag, I'm it.
I am committed to giving up plastic water bottles.
Starting with this cup.
This cup.
This is my last single-use cup.
Starting with this straw.
Did you know that more than 1 million plastic bags are used every minute?
I bet you didn't know that.
Over the last 10 years, we have produced more plastic than during the whole of the last century.
And much of our plastics, when indiscriminately disposed of, finds its way into our oceans. It travels from one island to the other in plastic patches.
So, why use this disposable bottle when you can switch to something a little bit more environmentally friendly?
I am switching from this to this.
From this to this.
Replace it with a reusable option.
Switch to an environmentally friendly alternative. I'm tagging Alicia Burton, Miss Dominica, King Trilogy, and Benji N2O.
Now look how easy it is to switch.
I'm tagging Noah Seas and Puya.
You have 24 hours to put out your switch video and tag 3 people.
Hi, I'm Joanne Nova from the Caribbean Youth Environment Network. Tag 3 people and challenge them to join the Zero Waste Movement.
Presence of the Chief Executive Officer of Peter & Company, Mr. Juan Bailey. Now, this debate has been centered around something that is very akin to what you do. The plastics that people consume, at the end of the day, they are fast-moving goods, something that with little thought is just purchased off of the shelves of a Massy stores or wherever. And we know that from a distribution point, responsible for bringing in these plastic goods into the companies, what feasible way is there to limit environmental impact, and how could that relate to the mood that we spoke about today in the private sector?
All right, thank you for that question. As you quite rightly said, in the fast-moving consumer goods sector, we are very concerned about our environment and sustainability, particularly in economies such as St. Lucia, which, as we all know, are very import-heavy. What we are seeing and what we support both within our company, Peter & Company, and our larger group is working with our external suppliers to ensure that we reduce the amount of plastic that's used in packaging, reduce the amount of dyes that also have the possibility to leach into our environment. And what we've been seeing in recent years, particularly in the last 2 to 3 years, as we've entered the post-COVID regime, is that more and more of our suppliers are becoming sensitive to the environmental impact that their packaging has. So our company, as well as our group, we're committed to working with external principals who are committed to ensuring that they reduce plastic waste wherever possible. There are alternatives to the traditional plastics that are biodegradable, but will still protect the integrity of the food that you eat. In addition to that, as would have been stated by some of the previous speakers, given our small scale, we don't directly have enough scale ourselves to really drive the agenda. So our strategy is, in particular, when working with our larger international principals, to find out what's happening globally, what's happening in other markets, because St. Lucia, Grenada, we're all part of a global village. So where we see there are initiatives happening in other markets, then we engage our suppliers and say that we may be small, but this is highly relevant to us as vulnerable small island developing states. So we embrace those initiatives and we advocate as well, because being a company operating in St. Lucia, our group operates in other markets, we have to be good corporate citizens because we all live here. We all feel the impacts of pollution, what it does to us on a day-to-day basis. And we want to make sure that from our company perspective, we do everything to ensure that we leave our islands such as St. Lucia and Grenada as beautiful and tranquil as they are now. And hopefully we continue to improve on that and eliminate plastic waste. Thank you.
Thank you for your well-detailed and clear response. This is particularly relevant because, as we hear in St. Lucia, not many of us are conscious of the fact that we produce so much waste and it outweighs our population. As I mentioned earlier, plastic pollution accounted for a nearly 1.3 million US loss in our fisheries and tourism sectors, which is something to think about, especially since we don't think about usually when we use our plastic waste. Where does it end up? What is the life of this plastic bottle? How does it go from when I throw it away, what happens to it? We don't really think about it. We throw our thoughts alongside the trash.
What imperative does it place at the door of the tourism sector, see that our economies are so dependent on tourism?
Well, Ms. Barbara Jacob-Small just raised a good point that we need Ms. Coletta to address. Based on the tourism sector, we are tourism-based economies. What environmental impact does plastic pollution pose onto the tourism sector, and how could it be responsible for engaging in a more sustainable path?
I feel like I've been put on the spot a little bit. I think in tourism, as you said, we are a region, we're probably the most tourism-dependent region in the world. And sustainability in the sector, I believe, while there's a lot of commitment from the suppliers, a lot of it has been driven by the consumers. There's a lot stronger sentiment in the source markets for tourism towards sustainability and recycling and things like that, and it's pulling the tourism sector along. There is obviously an economic consideration when you want your services to become more sustainable, and that has tended to, in the past, slowed the progress towards sustainable services in the region. But I do believe that because there's quite a strong sentiment in the source markets that the sector has been following along. And that's not to say that there aren't some very strong champions in the region for sustainable tourism. That's very definitely the case. I think that generally speaking, there's strong movement in the right direction. There's still a lot to be done. But yeah, that's how I would respond to that situation. Thank you.
Here's an assignment for you super sleuths, should you choose to accept. Every single-use plastic thrown into the environment has a fingerprint on it. Who does it belong to? That plastic bottle or food container was imported and distributed to warehouses, supermarkets, shops, food trucks, school canteens, vendors' trays, and eventually made its way to us. So how did it get buried in the environment? Whose fingerprint is on this? Since several laws, including international agreements, prohibit polluting, hold on to that plastic bottle or food container until you get to a bin and dispose of it properly. Separate plastic waste for transport to a facility that reuses, repurposes, or recycles. It's the responsible thing to do.
Representative from the agricultural sector, I have with me Mr. Brent Theophil of ICA, who can maybe give us a little bit more insight as to what plastic pollution and sustainable futures mean as it pertains to the agricultural industry. Yes.
Thank you for that, and good afternoon to everyone. From the agricultural sector's perspective, we are particularly concerned with issues of packaging and product development with regards to sustainable consumption. We realize that there will always be opportunities in the market space to advertise, promote, and target the particular interests of different consumer segments. What we see is that there is a particular interest in commodities that have sentimental value, that are demonstrating environmental consciousness and awareness in both the manufacturing of the commodity as well as the packaging that is utilized for it. A good example in that regard would probably be a commodity like mushrooms. There are these packaged mushroom packs that are made from biodegradable materials. Essentially, you grow out your mushrooms, they consume the packaging that it comes in, and everything there is compostable or could be safely put out into the landfill for decomposition or used in your garden as additional soil amendment. So we see a keen interest in developing products that align with that type of market interest. On the back end of things, in terms of utilization of packaging, there are some interesting opportunities that are becoming available. For example, utilizing mango peel and other available cellulose bases for building materials. For example, bananas. Banana pseudostem can be used to produce wood alternatives, as well as mango peel and I think citrus peel being used for packaging as well as for food preservation. So there's some really good options that entrepreneurs worldwide are exploring and developing. We would like to see more of that being done in the Caribbean region, as well as working with the key actors that are already involved in that space for waste management and utilization. Because we see that there are some good options that could be developed and scaled to support entrepreneurship.
We thank you for that detailed response as to how this debate pertains to the agricultural sector. I just want to reiterate that our small island developing states are quite beautiful, pleasing to look at. Sometimes they may be marred by plastic pollution. I'm sure it is a very common experience growing up in the Caribbean. You're driving on the highway down to school or work or wherever you may be going, and you may see KFC boxes and water bottles littering the road. You know, you may even see somebody with your own two eyes or the car window, something just slides out of the car window in front of you, and you're like, but what's going on? This is a call to action for us to not take these offenses lightly. We have strong littering laws in the Caribbean, but laws exist solely on books. If there's nothing enforcing these laws, pretty much nothing will happen. So it comes from a community and a cultural shift as well, that we recognize that, hey, when we throw these things into the and when we throw these plastics out onto the roadside or wherever, when the rain takes it, it goes in the ocean. And the turtles don't have time for that, as Grenada so plainly said earlier in the day. So I call on everyone, because I'm sure if you're in the demographic that is watching this debate, you are already conscious of your effect that you have on the environment. But to your friends and your community members who may be less in tap with the scope of the issue, I call for you yourself to go out and educate them and to call out destructive practices. Thank you.
Carelessly, I was tossed out. I was considered trash. And many thought that's all I'd ever be. Some told me to give up, go back to the landfill, so that I could take 450 years to decompose? No, I dream of a different life. Of being part of something better, stronger, and more purposeful.
If given a chance, your plastic would choose to be put to more beneficial use. Choose recycling.
Dominica is living up to its reputation as the Nature Isle and its goal to be a resilient country. We are establishing a recycling culture, ridding our landfill of plastic waste. Under the Recycle OECS pilot project, residents and business owners are being encouraged to see the potential in plastic. Every day, plastic bottles can be sorted and prepared for collection and recycling. Plastic is not waste. There is opportunity in plastic recycling. Our health and the unmatched pristine Dominica environment protected, and the potential arena for investment for OECS entrepreneurs. Let's explore the possibilities and turn plastic into profit.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans. Hello.
If it's on land, it will end up in the ocean. And for every fish that chokes on our waste, someone's livelihood dies too. Some say, please stop marine pollution.
So many islands, familiar connections, sharing resources, one economy. Of history and culture and shared destiny. Why wouldn't we care? One Caribbean sea. We all belong here. One economy. Making future sense of our present tense. We're giving it all we are. Our moment is here. One Caribbean.
Fabulous. Check this for a second. When your plastics, engine oil, factory waste, and fertilizer runoff end up in the sea, that's a real bad vibe. Trust me, gotta cut it out. We all have to stop that. And that's the memo right there.
Wouldn't we care? One Caribbean sea can prosper my tale. One Caribbean sea. By giving it all we are worth. By cherishing the lands of our birth. Why wouldn't we care? One Caribbean sea. For the oceans we share. One blue economy. Painting this picture and framing our future. We're giving it all we are.
Hey OECS, this is Mikkel Henderson. This song is real, just like our ocean. Think ahead, act now. Stop littering the land and protect our sea. Your garbage, your house, your garage, your factory, your move. It's that simple.
We're keepers of ocean and earth. One Caribbean sea. We're giving it all we are worth. One blue economy.
We cherish the lands of our birth.
One Caribbean sea. Our treasures of blue sky and sun. One blue economy. One Caribbean sea. One blue economy. One Caribbean sea. Our treasures of blue sky and sun. One Caribbean sea.
Hello, ECS.
Grenada is on a track to become a Caribbean trendsetter for waste management and recycling. We are establishing a recycling culture to rid our landfill, our country, of plastic waste. Under the OECS Recycle Pilot Project, residents and the business sector are being encouraged to see the potential in plastic. Every day, plastic bottles can be stored and prepared for collection and recycling. Plastic is not waste. There is investment opportunity in plastic recycling, sustainable clean water, food safety, beautiful beaches, marine spaces, and a potential arena for investment for OECS entrepreneurs. Let's recycle and explore avenues to convert plastic into profit.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
Many of us take our health and well-being seriously. We exercise, we eat right, we try hard. Sometimes we give up, but we can't give up on the health of land and the seas that sustain us. We must reduce the amount of plastic weight we generate individually. A person can generate up to 70 times their weight in waste. That's over 10,000 pounds of plastic over a lifetime. Now multiply that by the country's population. Without reuse, repurposing, or recycling, each OECS island will generate more than 1 billion pounds of plastic waste over a lifetime. This can't be our legacy. Separate plastic waste for transport to a facility that reuses, repurposes, or recycles.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
I'd like to thank each and every one of you for letting me moderate such an intriguing battle of wit. Both the semifinals and the finals blew me away with the capability and capacity for talent that we have here in the Windward Islands in terms of our debate, our research skills, our speaking skills. I'd just like to inform you all that all 4 teams will be receiving goodies inside of a backpack for them to enjoy, and the winning team will receive premium laptops which will help further their studies and research capabilities. But just once again, thank you. As a former debater myself, I know it was really rough on you all, having to do 2 back-to-back, but I applaud you on your dexterity, your discipline, and your ability to concentrate and present sound and logical arguments in such a timely fashion. And right before I sign out, let me call to the podium the Chief Judge, Mr. Brent Theophil, to give us some general remarks and as well to deliver the moment that we've all been waiting for, the results. So calling on to the podium, Mr. Brent Theophil.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. And on behalf of the judges, let me just say thanks to the organizers of the event for the invitation to contribute to this very, very enthusiastic and very, very much informative debate this afternoon. Firstly, to commend the presenters, let me say for Team Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, as well as for the TA Marisho College, exceptional jobs on all fronts. The judges did find something resounding amongst all the presenters, and in our deliberations as to who we thought would be the best presenter, let me assure you that it was a back and forth, that there was deep consideration of the emotive points, the strong use of evidence, the use of wit, cynicism, as well as the confidence in particular that the presenters showcased in their own presentations. That said, we did find that overall, exceptional use of evidence and facts to substantiate points. That was a consistent theme. Very good use of very good articulation in firstly presenting a clear outline of the points for the argument, as well as the exposition around that. We also wanted to reflect on the spontaneity of the presenters, especially in the rebuttal. That part of the debate especially stood out for us in the presenters showcasing their ability to think on their feet, as well as to use the content that would have been presented in the opposition in favor of their own points. So again, to commend the teams for an exceptional job done today in showcasing the merits of their views on the topic at hand, the moot at hand. That said, after much deliberation, the judges did agree that overall we thought that Miss Shine Savory was the overall best presenter. So congratulations to her. And to also note, yeah, we're hearing the applause, but very much so to note, Mr. Noel, Joshua Noel, Kia Marisho, and Miss Sade Gustav in your presentations. Again, exceptional jobs well done, and thank you all for such a good show of force in presenting your views on the moot at hand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Theophil. And just let me assure everybody that as of now, the judges themselves do not know who the winner of the debate is. The process is that they submit all their individual marks, and we have two adjudicators who first verify the marks, ensure that everybody tallied properly, and then who did the final tally, and they entered the marks on an overall sheet. Okay, so that is the current position. But we are very pleased to say that we have the results in. Let me call Mr. Chamberlain Emmanuel to make the announcement of the winning team, and then thereafter we will move to the closing remarks.
Okay, and the Grammy goes to. Okay, so again, I don't envy the work of the judges. And want to thank them again for an excellent job. I will give you the two total scores. The second place got 1,025 points in all, and the first place got 1,042 points. And the overall winner, T.A. Marishaw Community College. Congratulations to you.
So there we have it. There we have it. But I want to lend my thanks. I want to add my thanks and my gratitude to, the two different teams, to the two teams, and to the four colleges. And I want to say that for us at the Recycle OECS project, our interest was really not so much in who wins this competition. Our interest was in immersing the students in the topic, in the issues, so that you research and you understand what these pressing issues are and what these pressing concerns are and what the arguments are, what the pros and the cons are on both sides. As you understand, as you appreciate, the process of selecting the topics was that either of you could have debated whether the proposition side or the opposition side, but there are considerations that, our governments and our policymakers and our private sector, have to consider in, us negotiating these challenges and arriving at something that works and that is sustainable for us in the OECS. So we really don't care who won, but we want to say a job well done. But to say that in a better way, let me call on Ms. Fazana Youssef-Leon, Project Manager, Ocean Governance and Fisheries Program at the OECS Commission.
Good afternoon, everyone. And let me just say once again, congratulations to both teams, but especially, of course, the TAMCC Community College. I would like to, on behalf of the OECS Commission and UNICOMER, and everyone here, the judges as well, I'd like to thank Sir Arthur Lewis Community College for their strategic guidance and for the use of their premises. We must mention Mrs. Natalie Jolie Fanis and coordinator of the debate club, Miss Lorima Jacobs, and in more recent times, Mrs. Tracy George. Your graciousness and accommodation have played a huge role in bringing this project to completion. The Dominica State College, notably the college president, Trudy Christian, St. Vincent and the Grenadines State College, notably Vice Dean Veronica Luke and the debate club coordinator, Mr. Utamu Rose, the TAMCC Community College, with special mention of Mrs. Merlicia John, co-coordinator of the TAMCC debate club. Generally speaking, we remain humbled by your responsiveness and your willingness to bring our region's youth into conversations about a sustainable future for our OECS region. We are tremendously grateful for the support of the Grenada Government Information Service and the agency Public Information API in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for readily agreeing to provide technical support to the colleges. Also to Grenada, the Director of Information, Mr. Jason Phillip, who committed to seeing this right through in the event TAMCC made it to the finals, and here we are, with TAMCC emerging as the winners. A big thank you also to the National Television Network in St. Lucia for live streaming the finals and helping us to reach a wider audience. 15 very busy professionals also answered the call to serve as judges. So thank you, judges. Across the 3 debates, we again express our heartfelt thanks. Heartfelt thanks also go out to the Independent Film Company, who clearly got more than they signed up for, but constantly gave us the assurance that they are in 100%. Thank you. And of course, Mrs. Barbara Jacobs Small, thank you so much for working tirelessly to ensure that this debate series is a success. Thank you, of course, to our sponsors, UNICOMER. Certainly, you probably will not be seeing the prizes at this time because we weren't certain exactly which college would emerge as winners. However, we will be gifting the colleges their prizes at a later date. But thank you to UNICOMER who sponsored the prizes. And now lastly, the debaters. We must single you out individually for your excellent research and your commendable delivery. So we salute Bernicia Moreau and Elionette Jolie of the Dominica State College, Kia Maricho and Ayla John of TAMCC Community College, and Joshua Noel today of the TAMCC Community College. Naima Richards and Kent Thomas of St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College, Shine Savory and Shade Gustave of Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. Over these 2 rounds of debate, there is one feeling you've evoked in our audience, and that is a sense of pride. Now, whether you choose responsible consumption or recycling or both, We hope that the information that you gathered through this debate series will help you to become environmental stewards and to reduce your waste footprint. Also, not just see waste as something to toss away, but also as a resource. Thank you so much, everyone.
Hello, OECS.
Good day, ma'am. What would make it easier for you to reduce your plastic waste?
Definitely incentives for bringing back plastic bottles, like discounts and loyalty points. It would motivate me to recycle more.
I think if restaurants let us use our own takeout containers, it's all about convenience, you know?
It would help if manufacturers start using less packaging altogether.
Better infrastructure, more investment in recycling facilities, and innovative solutions to tackle this growing problem of plastic pollution. It's not just about individual action, it's about systemic change.
With our population growing and plastic becoming more prevalent in packaging, we have to equip our waste management agencies to keep pace with change and handle the load.
There you have it, folks, straight from the streets. People are willing to do the responsible thing if we create the conditions for them to do so.
Recycle OECS. Green actions, blue oceans.
Carelessly, I was tossed out. I was considered trash. And many thought that's all I'd ever be. Some told me to give up, go back to the landfill, so that I could take 450 years to decompose. No, I dream of a different life, of being part of something better, stronger, and more purposeful.
If given a chance, your plastic would choose to be put to more beneficial use. Choose recycling.
Now, it's considered to be one of the biggest threats to the world's oceans. Delegates from UN member states are gathering here to confront the problem of plastic pollution. The goal is to agree on a global